Good afternoon, good people. Good evening, good people. Good evening. Thank you for joining me tonight on Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten. Got a great topic tonight. Boy, I'm feeling all kind of passion about what we're going to talk about tonight. So thank you for joining me. We're going to give folks a few moments to join us, a few minutes to join us. Hello, Dr. Cruz. Good to see you, my brother. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started here in a few moments. We've had a tremendous week this week and I had a tremendous day today. Just feel so favored by the Lord. I just feel so favored by Him. I'm going to share that with everyone. So we're going to give everyone a few moments to jump on and join us. Yes, thank you, Dr. Cruz. Yeah, we're going to be talking about breaking those generational patterns, right? Healing the past and changing the future. All right. Hopefully, everyone has had a great week so far. It's hump day. So, hopefully, things are going downhill from here for you. You're going to close the week strong. And I hope you have something, exciting that you're going to do, something that you enjoy doing this weekend. I know I got some stuff I got to get done as I get prepared. Michelle and I to go to another chapter, another door the Lord has opened for us to walk in or walk through. So just excited, 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 excited. If you haven't had a chance to, please go out to my YouTube channel, Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're alerted when we go live or when I drop some new content, new videos. Make sure you share, like, comment, and give us some reviews. All of those things help us in terms of going deeper into the algorithm and our content being shared with more people around the world. All right. Alexa, stop. Okay, once again, welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight on my podcast, Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten. Tonight, we're talking about breaking generational patterns. Have you ever thought about this? Have you ever stopped and thought and asked yourself this? Why do the same struggles seem to repeat themselves from one generation to the next? You ever thought about that? As a little kid, I thought about this. Why does it seem like in my family, this particular negative thing happens from one generation to the next? Of course, I began to understand a lot better as I got older, but even as a kid, I challenge myself. I challenge those who were older in the family around me. I ask questions, right? I can remember from time to time going over to see my Aunt Ruth Anna and just asking her, why is this, part of the cycle? Going to my grandmother, to my mother, and asking, why is this a part of our family cycle? You know, whether it's broken relationships, financial hardships, anger, family members dealing with anger and not being able to control themselves in certain ways, addictions. A number of us see addictions of all sorts take place in our families. Seem like it goes from one generation to the next. Fear, afraid to venture out, afraid to take risk and take chances to better ourselves. That could be a pattern that follows from one generation to the next. How about poor communication? Not having the skill set to be able to communicate and work through issues. That could be a pattern that needs to be broken in our families. Or simply just believing. Simply we just believe for whatever reason, this is just how our family is, right? Every generation has the opportunity to make a different choice, to set a different path, to do something different, right? So, in this episode of Meaningful Conversations, we explore how healing begins with one decision. Healing can begin, change can begin with one decision. Refusing to pass down what hurt us. Refuse to pass that down. I'll give you a great example. I've used this example before, and I can remember growing up as a kid, right? And being born and not having my father's name, right? I remember how that impacted me, how that hurt me, how that uh, made me feel as a kid growing up, right? And I said to myself, even at a very young age, that man, I'm just not going to do this to a kid, right? If I have a kid, my kid is going to have my last name. My kid is going to grow up under my roof. I am going to be that true father and mentor to my children, right? So I was like, as a young kid, I knew, hey, that pattern was going to stop with me. So we can stop. We can refuse to pass down these patterns that hurt us, right? Instead of continuing to compete them and passing them on to the next generation. So this conversation tonight is about breaking those unhealthy cycles, embracing forgiveness, and intentionally building a legacy that future generations will thank us for. Building a generation that future generations will thank us for. This will be our legacy that, Grandpa Devin, Father Devin, friend Devin, mentor Devin, right? He did this and it helped change my life. So today I sent out emails, texts to family and friends, to my fraternity brothers, letting them know that I accepted a tenure track professor appointment at Houston Tillotson University, HBCU in Austin, Texas. I'm so excited about it. Michelle and I, about this new phase, this new door we're walking through, something, we've been praying about, believing God for. Finished my doctorate a couple years ago and, got my first opportunity at Langston University as an adjunct professor teaching in the business school. Thank Dean Darrell Green for that opportunity. That opened the door for me then to become a facilitator with Cornell University, the Ivy League school up in Ithaca, New York, then opened the door for me to go to campus, junior college around the country to teach business courses to junior college kids. And now this appointment with Houston Tillotson, prestigious HBCU down in Austin, Texas, right? So as I'm thinking through these great blessings that these doors are opening, I'm also thinking about how these opportunities are helping build a legacy. It's helping break patterns, right? In my family and for those who I'm connected with. So the point I was getting to, I sent out these texts and these emails, and I'm getting responses, right? From, thank you, Dr. Cruz. I appreciate that. Getting these responses from young men and young women that I've had the fortune to be able to mentor throughout the years. Kids who grew up in the Boys and Girls Club, young people who grew up in the church that I pastored down in New Orleans, Mighty Strength of Jesus Ministries and New Life Christian Center. And, the students that over the past couple of years I've been able to teach and mentor and coach graduate school students, junior college students, undergraduate students. And I am just so blessed and I feel so honored to be a part of so many different people's lives. And guess what? It's breaking patterns. Some of us grew up in situations where we didn't have mentors. We didn't have people that we could trust, that we could rely on to give us good advice and to help us through certain things in life. So remember, sometimes the greatest gift you and I can give or leave to our children, our children's children, sometimes it isn't wealth. Of course, wealth is an important part of it, right? My scripture tells me that, we are to leave an inheritance to our children's children. But a great gift that you and I can leave behind is wholeness. We could leave wholeness. We can apologize. We can forgive. We can understand. We can be more empathetic. We can use more emotional intelligence in our relationships, right? So, thank you for being here tonight. Welcome back to another episode of Meaningful Conversations. Of course, I'm your host, Dr. Devin M. Oten Sr. And tonight we're talking about something that affects every family, every community, and every generation. Breaking generational patterns. We've all heard someone say at some point in our lives, that's just how our family is, right? We've all heard that. Or maybe you've heard something like this: the men in our family, they don't express their emotions very well. Nobody in our family ever finished college. A lot of our family members don't finish high school. Or something like, we've always struggled as a family with money, right? We've always had a short temper. But what if those words don't have to define my future or future generations, my children, my grandchildren? Tonight isn't about blaming the generations that came before us. It's about becoming the generation that chooses differently, that takes a different path, that decides to take the scenic route around those bad patterns that we have experienced in our families, and maybe not even take the scenic route around, but just go straight through those bad patterns, right? So, in our first segment tonight, we're talking about every family has a story. Every family has a story, right? Every single family has a story. Every family has certain strengths, those hallmarks of the family. Everyone in the family goes to college, right? Or everyone in the family, becomes an entrepreneur. We see this in certain communities, right? Where if they own a store, the children are in the store, the grandchildren are working in the store. We see how that's a strength for that particular family. Every family also has struggles, right? Some patterns are very beautiful, very commendable. Like, some families, every generation goes to church, every generation becomes a believer, every generation becomes a worshiper and serving in some way, some shape, some form, some fashion, right? Some patterns are really beautiful. It could be a faith pattern. It could be hard work. Some families, man, they like, oh, those people in that family, they work hard. I mean, they get up at 6 in the morning, they will work till 6 at night. The father does, the son does, the grandson does. That's a positive and beautiful pattern for a family, right? Some families, they serve others. You see, the mom, working, at the soup kitchen, each week, and handing out clothes to the less fortunate, and bringing meals and socks to those who are houseless, right? That's a pattern, and a good, beautiful, faithful pattern that we see in some families. We see some families have this sense of loyalty, right? They're very loyal to each other. They're very loyal to their family members. They're very loyal to their friends. They're very loyal to their community, right? And we know this very well for those of us who are from New Orleans, man. People from New Orleans are loyal to New Orleans, loyal to the culture, loyal to the community, right? And not just saying New Orleans, but Michelle and I being from New Orleans, we understand that very well. Hi, cuz, see you join. Thanks for joining us tonight. But some patterns, they quietly pass from generation to generation until someone decides to stop it. Somebody got to decide. Somebody got to make a decision. The buck stops with me. Okay. Like I shared just a few moments with you, for me, one of the things that stuck out in my mind as a kid is that I was not going to have a kid who did not have my name and did not grow up under my roof, under my mentorship, under my tutelage, right? It was going to stop with me, man. And I'm believing God, I'm praying that my son has that same mentality, which I believe he does. We talk all the time, we talk about it. And I'm praying for him, that he's able to find a good woman to get married to and start a beautiful family, and give me some grandbabies, right? And give me a grandson, keep this thing going, Devin Oten the third, right? And instill these values in him, take this to the next generation. So the question isn't whether your family has patterns. Your family definitely has patterns. It has some really beautiful patterns, and it has some not so beautiful patterns that we got to change. We got to stop, right? And those beautiful ones, we got to continue. We got to enhance them and improve them. So the question tonight is, which ones are worth keeping? And which ones do we need to end, or it needs to end with you? Let's go to our next segment. Let's talk about pain passed down. I know I'm not the only one who has experienced some pain that has been passed down from the previous generation, right? My brothers and sisters, they can attest to this. We have some pain that have been passed down to us. And we, of course, don't want to pass that pain down to our children, right? We got to stop the cycle. It starts and ends with us. So many people don't repeat unhealthy behaviors because that's what they want to do. Many people, they're not trying to, repeat these unhealthy behaviors and continue these unhealthy behaviors and want to, see our children and grandchildren continue these unhealthy behaviors. But we repeat what we witness. We repeat what we were exposed to. We repeat that learned behavior from our experience, or the word I like to use all the time, orientation. We all have an orientation that we come from. Children often become what they consistently see, what they consistently observe, right? I can remember, when I finally left the house, and I can remember, getting my place, and I was like, man, you know what? If I don't want to wash dishes, I'm not going to wash dishes, because the house I grew up in, if you dirtied up one cup, one spoon, you had to run some hot soapy water and wash that one cup, that one spoon, soon as you were done. You had to make your bed up every day. Before I went to school, I had to vacuum the carpet in my room before I went to school, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm a free man now. I don't have to do that. I tried that for about a week, maybe two. And something hit me and said, you weren't raised like this. This is not your orientation. And I got in there and cleaned that place up, right? And I haven't tried changing that pattern or breaking that pattern since that happened 40 years ago, however long ago it was. So children observe what they repeat what they observe, what they see. If we never learn another way, we often repeat what just feels familiar to us. We're accustomed to this. This is comfortable for us. But we got to get out of that comfort zone. We got to stretch ourselves. We got to, think differently about breaking those bad patterns. So healing begins when you and I recognize that understanding our past hurts, past patterns helps us choose what to do better, choose a more fruitful future, if you will. And please jump in if you have something you want to share or some questions you want to share. Please jump in the chat and share that with us. Oh, I see my sister Nikki has joined us. Good to see you. I see Joyce has joined us. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. So, in segment three, we're talking about choosing healing instead of blame. Let's choose healing instead of deciding to blame someone, right? Uh, Previous generations, in a lot of cases, they did the best that they could do. They were ignorant in some areas, just like you and I are ignorant in some areas, but we can choose to do better, right? So let's choose healing from those bad patterns that we've been exposed to throughout our childhood as young adults, whatever the case may be. And let's decide not to blame anyone. Okay. So healing doesn't begin by pointing fingers. Healing will never begin by pointing fingers. Never. Healing begins by taking responsibility for our own choices. Okay. Taking accountability. That's when healing can take place. We can honor the sacrifices of those who came before us while deciding that certain hurts and pains and habits or mindsets that we got from them will not continue through us. Forgiveness, it never excuses what happened. It never excuses what people did. And that's what we think. We think, oh, if you forgive somebody, you forget it, and that's it. No, no, forgiveness doesn't work like that. It's not an excuse that we give people, right? Hey, good evening. Good evening, Sister Siobhan. Thank you for joining. I see Sister Keisha. Dr. Wright has joined us. Thank you for joining us tonight. So remember that, it's not about when we forgive someone, we excuse what happened. No, it frees us from carrying it forever. I can't remember who it was, but I was at a conference, and one of the preachers at the conference said this. Who was it? I can't remember who it was, but I'll never forget this. He said, the reason why you should forgive someone, or the reason why he chooses to forgive people, is because when he goes on vacation with his wife, he don't want to take those people with him. When you don't forgive people, you take them with you everywhere you go. I'll never forget that. I was a young minister, and the preacher said that. So I learned, you know what? No, sir. No, ma'am. I'd rather forgive you than take you and what you did to me on vacation with me and my wife, or on a business trip, or in my sleep, right? Or in my daily work. No, I don't want to take you with me. So the best thing for me to do is to forgive you, right? Think about that. And once again, if you have some thoughts that you want to share with everyone, please put it in the chat. Yes, let's see. Dr. Wright says holding on to unforgiveness is like taking the poison and hoping the other person dies. It only kills you. Thank you. Great analogy. Great illustration. Great point. Let me read that again. Holding on to unforgiveness is like taking the poison and hoping the other person dies. It only kills you. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Our next segment four, building a new legacy. Let's talk about building a new legacy, right? Some of those patterns or those legacies, those negative legacies that were passed down from one generation to the next. let's talk about not only how we break those patterns, but how we begin to build a new legacy. So, what if your greatest accomplishment isn't your job title, your profession, your skill? What if it isn't your income, the amount of money you make? What if your greatest accomplishment is becoming the person who changes your family's future? I want you to think about that. What if your greatest accomplishment is not your education, your job, the amount of money you make? What if the greatest accomplishment you do in this life, before you leave this life, is becoming the person who changes your family's future? Oh, that's what I'm praying for. That's what I'm believing God for. That's what I'm, striving for. That's what I'm working toward. I want to be a part of the reason why my family's future changes, right? Michelle and I have some business ventures that we're working on now. We believe in that, this is going to be a multi-million dollar venture, right? The material that I'm researching and the books that I'm writing and preparing to write right now. I'm looking forward to those being, you know, top books used in academic circles and colleges and universities around the world. New York bestsellers. You know, you're creating this tremendous legacy, changing the future of our family. Imagine your grandchildren saying to you, everything changed because one person decided enough was enough. That's the legacy I'm looking for. I'm looking for my grandkids to say this. I'm looking for my grandkids kids to write this. Everything changed because Pop or Grandpa or Pawpaw decided enough was enough. And he decided to blaze a trail and set a path for us, right? Where we could follow that path and we can be blessed because of the doors that he knocked down, because of the ceilings that he went through. That's legacy. So, legacy isn't just what we leave behind, legacy is how we live every single day. It's not what we leave behind, it's what we live every single day. And please, if you have some things you want to share with us, please jump in and share that with us. You have some comments that you want to share with us, please share that. Some questions, jump in the chat and do that. And I see I'm losing connection on my phone with my Facebook audience. I hope it comes back on where everyone can rejoin us. So our fifth segment, we have to have the courage to be the first. We have to have the courage to be the first. Being the first is not easy. Being the first is hard, right? And unfortunately, in our community, we, all these years later, we are still seeing the first a black person to do this in the United States, the first uh, to do this, that, or the other. We still have these firsts, and it's not hard. I mean, it's not easy being the first to accomplish something, the first to graduate from college, the first entrepreneur, the first healthy marriage in our family, breaking that pattern, the first person to seek counseling, seek therapy, right? And in previous episodes I've talked about it, man, we need some therapy. We have been through some stuff in this country. We think, that it's been a long time. People talking about pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all of that kind of nonsense. You know, I experienced, okay, Jim Crow. Okay, this was not that long ago. We need some therapy. There's some things we don't even realize that we need help with. So be the first to seek counseling, seek therapy. The first person to forgive. Why are we waiting for someone else to forgive? Be the first to forgive and move on. The first person to choose peace over pride. Oh, my broadcast ended on Facebook. I don't know if something happened with the connection. But anyway, be the first to choose peace over pride. Someone, anyone has to go first. Why not you? Why not me? Be the first. Now, we always each week do a faith perspective, and this week we're going to use 2 Corinthians 5:17, and I use the NIV. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here. I'll read that again. Our faith perspective tonight comes from 2 Corinthians 5:17, using the NIV. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone. The new is here. God doesn't simply improve our lives, He transforms us. There's a difference between improving and transformation. Our past may explain us, it doesn't define us. I want you to think about that for a minute. Your past may explain you, me, but my past does not define me. So there's 5 principles, 5 life principles I want to share with you tonight. Number 1, awareness becomes before change. You can't change if you're not aware, right? You don't know what you don't know. You got to be aware of what needs to change, what pattern needs to be broken. So awareness comes before change. You can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. Some of us know what it is, but we refuse to acknowledge it. We want to walk around like an ostrich with our head in the sand. No, you can't change what you refuse to acknowledge. Number 2, healing is a choice. The pain may not have been your fault, but healing is your responsibility. I'll say that again. The pain may not be your fault, but the healing is your responsibility. Number 3, number 3, forgiveness is freedom. Remember, I shared that earlier. Pastor said, hey, man, forgive people so you don't have to take them with you on your vacation. Forgiveness is freedom. Forgiveness releases you from becoming a prisoner of the past, a prisoner of what happened yesterday. Some of us are being weighed down right now by something someone said out of line to you yesterday, last week, the month before. Now, you got to protect yourself. You got to protect your peace. I've made a decision over the past couple months. I am not going to deal with negative energy. When people try to put that negative energy on me, I'm not dealing with it. I'm shutting it down, and you're going to lose access to me. We're not going to be talking uh, as frequently, as much, maybe not at all, because I'm not taking on any more negative energy. Forgiveness is freedom. Forgiveness releases you from becoming a prisoner of what happened yesterday. Number 4, small decisions create lasting legacy. Y'all know this is a part of the things that I talk about. It resonates with me. Doing those small things, you know, a lot of times we don't get busy about life and making changes because we're looking at the big picture, thinking we have to jump from here to all the way over there. But the Chinese proverb says the journey of 1,000 miles must begin with the first step, with the initial step. So small decisions create lasting legacies. Every healthy choice plants seeds in your life for future generations. Every healthy choice you and I make from this day forward, it plants a seed for future generations. Number five, history changes because one person refuses to repeat it. History changes because one person refuses to repeat that history. I have a couple questions for you. It's our custom to do this each week. The first question: what positive values have been passed down through your family that you want to preserve? I want you to think about that. If you got note, notepad and pen, write it down. What positive values have been passed down through your family that you want to preserve, that you want to pass on to your children and to your grandchildren and your great grandchildren? Of course, if the Lord tarry, but even in your absence, because it's a legacy, right? It's a heritage, it's an inheritance that is being passed down from you to your children, to your grandchildren. And you can jump in if you'd like to and share in the chat. Um, the next question: is there a pattern in your family that you hope ends with your generation? Write that down. Whatever that pattern is, you want that to end with this generation, with you. Next question: who has influenced your life by choosing a different path? Who have you seen in your family, your network, your close friendships that have made a decision to do something different, to change your pattern, and it influence your life? Write that down. Think about it, write it down, and call that person and thank them. If it impacted you and it caused you to make some different decisions, go down some different paths, make some better choices, call that person and thank them. Next question: what legacy do you want your children or grandchildren to remember? I've shared several of them that I want to leave with my children and grandchildren. Think about what that is. Write that down. Make sure you do it. Make sure you do it. Make sure you leave it as a legacy for your children and grandchildren. Last question: if your family described you in one sentence 50 years from now, well, maybe not even 50, let's just say 30 years, but let's just stay with 50. 50 years from now, what would you hope they would say about you? If your family described you in one sentence 50 years from now, what would you hope they would say about you? Write that down. Think about it. Write that down. So it's our custom as well to have some challenges for us. We don't like to just talk about things and have this dialogue, this conversation, and not have some really critical key takeaways. There's always got to be a challenge for us to take from this, to insert that, excuse me, into our life. So take a few minutes this week and reflect on your family's story. Write down 3 blessings you want to continue. Write down 3 unhealthy patterns you want to stop. Write down 1 intentional action you can take this week to begin building a healthier legacy. Okay, I'll challenge this week. I'm gonna give it to you again. Write down 3 blessings you want to continue. Write down 3 unhealthy patterns you want to stop. Write down 1 intentional action you can take this week to begin building a healthier legacy. Remember this, real change begins with 1 intentional decision. Real change begins with 1 intentional decision. Well, I know the devil got mad with this talk tonight. Facebook Live went off on me. I don't know what happened there, but it's going to get out anyway. Amen. Everyone who was on Facebook, they'll be able to go onto YouTube and be able to see this and take some notes from this. So, your history explains you, but it does not have to define you. Legacy is built by the choices we make every single day. I just want to reiterate some things that we've gone over tonight. Healing isn't forgetting the past, it's refusing to let the past control your future. Every generation has the opportunity to write a new chapter. The strongest families are not perfect, they're committed to growing together. So before we leave tonight, I want you to remember this. You may not have chosen the family you were born into. Of course, we didn't choose the family we were born into. You may not have chosen every hardship you faced. You know, some of us made some decisions that put us in those hardships. But you can choose what happens next. You can choose faith over fear, forgiveness over bitterness, wisdom over impulse or impulsive responses, purpose over pain. And when you make those choices consistently, you're not only changing your own life, you are changing the future for generations who haven't even been born yet. That's the power
Mhm.
of breaking generational patterns. And
Okay.
as you see Michelle has come down and joined us. You feeling better?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
good,
good.
good, good. Now, before we close out, please remember, if you have not had a chance to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Meaningful Conversations with Dr. Devin Oten, please do so. Hit that bell so you're alerted when we go live, when I drop new content, new videos. Make sure you like, you share, you review the content. Hopefully, there's some great reviews you can put out there that'll drive our podcast, our YouTube channel further into the algorithm so more people around the world can see our content. So thank you for joining me on another episode of Meaningful Conversations. In today's conversation, or if today's conversation has encouraged you in any way, inspired you in any way, please share it with someone. Share it with someone who may need to hear this message. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what generational pattern you're committed to changing. Leave me a note. You know, what is that you committed to changing? Remember, one decision today can become a blessing for generations to come.
Yeah.
One decision you make today can be a blessing for generations to come. So until next time, stay focused, stay faithful, and keep becoming who you are called to be. Love you all. Have a good night. See you soon.
How did you